Hello, hello, good afternoon. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Friday, normally 3:30 p.m. demo, but we're doing a 5:30 p.m. demo because it's Friday, and my son, who's in college, has class until 4 o'clock, and then I have to pick him up and bring him home because he has an online class starting at 5. So there's always a rush out the door to go get him from school and then come back and do the demo. So, yes, so we are on 5:30-ish, because of course then there's the whole getting myself online once I'm back. And so here we are. And we are going to be creating today. I'm going to be showing you some fun things from the March-April catalog that just started beginning of March. And we are going to be using a stamp set from here called Spring Bunnies. Let me just find it. It's super cute. There it is. And it's just a little stamp set. It's called the Spring Bunnies. You can get it with thin cuts if they're still available. And this is a B size stamp set, so it's a little bit smaller. And it's got this cute stamped image. You can see here that they've created a lovely slimline card using the Spring Bunnies. So we're going to be using that. We're also going to be using one of the paper packs from this catalog, and that is the March-April Mix-In paper pack to create our card today. We're going to be creating a card. And so let's get started. I see that a few people are already jumping on to say hello. Hi, Mom, and Deborah's here too. Good afternoon. We're going to start first by just quickly doing our stamping. And we're going to stamp up some of the lovely little bunnies from this stamp set. And the bunnies are all one big stamp together. And there are 4 different sentiments. Thankful for friends, hello spring, have a lovely Easter, and warm and fuzzy hugs. I think that one's my favorite. That's the one we're going to be using today. So I've got my little group of bunnies here. I'm going to use intense black ink because we're going to be doing some coloring. So I'm just going to get that inked up nice. I'm going to scooch it a little closer to myself so I can see what I'm doing. And stamp that down. I hope I didn't shift that. Kind of felt like I shifted it just as I stamped it down. Nope, perfect. Turns out okay. Even when I think I smooshed it. There we go. All right. So now, while that's just hanging out there, we've got that out of the way. Let's bring in our card base. And for this card, I have cut a piece of Seabrook cardstock, and I'm using the light side of the Seabrook. So if I fold it over here, you can see the true color side and the light side. And we're going to use the light side because I just think it's, lighter and springier, and it looks cutesy with little bunnies. And so for our card, we need a piece that is 5.5 by 10.5 inches. So 5.5 by 10.5. Hey, Joanne, nice to see you're watching. And we're going to do some scoring on this card base. So I'm going to line it up on my Versamat. We're going to create a very simple step card. So if you've ever created a step card, this will be nothing new for you. It's nice and simple. It's a nice one, especially for Stash Dash. If you think about a fancy fold card or a fun fold card, it's not a hard fold. So we're just starting out with 5.5 by 10.5, and along this 10.5 inch side, we're going to score it first at 1 inch. So just scoring at 1 inch. Then we're going to score at 2 inches. And then we're going to jump across 1, 2, 3 to 6.25. I always have to double check because I forgot to write the measurements down before I started. That's how simple this is. I felt so confident in its simplicity that I didn't write down the score lines. So we're going to score here at 6.25, and we're going to cross our fingers and hope that works out. Now we want to have our light side as the outside of our card, and I also want to be able to fold with the bump side of my score line to the inside. So this side has the bump side. So we're going to fold that to the inside, just like that, making sure everything lines up. Crease it down. So that's like the center fold for our card. And then, so that's, that's how your card would normally open. So now on this next score line, we're actually going to fold it to the front. So we're accordioning it, making sure everything lines up. And then this 1-inch score line is going to fold back over on itself like that. And that creates that little step or little ledge at the front of our card. So if I stand this up now, it might be hard to see from above, but we have the back of our card, our regular card base, and then we've got a little step out the front, just like that. Okay? And that is how simple it is. See, what did I tell you? You're just doing 1 inch, 1 inch, and then making this into a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card. So 6 1/4 inches for those score lines. Excellent. Okay, now we're going to add some cardstock and pattern paper to it. I thought with the Seabrook that peach cardstock would look lovely. And so I have a piece of peach cardstock that I have cut to 5 1/2 by 2 3/4. And then from the mix-in paper pack, I have a piece of this really cute cloudy sky pattern paper. And this has been cut to 5 1/4 by 2 1/2. And we're going to stick these two pieces together. Let me grab my adhesive. The polka dots on the back here are lovely. And I contemplated using the polka dots. I kept turning my paper this way and that way, trying to make a final decision, and I decided I had to go with the clouds. Sometimes you just have to make a decision. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to center our clouds on our peach cardstock like that. And then we are going to attach that to our card. And I'm using the true color side of the peach, not the light side, the true color side. So it's a little darker. So we're going to attach that to our card, and we're going to have to kind of fold this little ledge out of the way. And right up here against our fold line, we're going to attach it, and it's going to go all the way up to the top so we can use our fingertips on the edge of our card to line up those two pieces, making sure this left to right lines up, and then stick that down. And then in this little space here at the bottom, I decided to add a piece of this lovely foliage in sage pattern from the mix-in paper pack. And this has been cut to 5 1/2 by 1 1/2, just a hair under 1 1/2, because it's going to get tucked in where we've got this little fold here. And I don't want it to interfere with the card's ability to fold. So it's just a hair, not even a 1/16 of an inch, just a hair under 1 1/2 inches. And that will give us a little bit of a gap just in that fold. So instead of lining it up with the fold, I'm going to butt it right up against the bottom of my peach cardstock. And it should leave us enough clearance, just a itty bitty smidge, that step at the front still folds down nicely and they don't compete for space. Okay, so we've created a nice little spot there for some extra embellishing after. Now on the front of this little step, I wanted to add a bit of the zip strip from the mix-in, and it's this cute little row of upside down and right side up hearts, very tone on tone, but kind of cute. So I've brought in also a piece of the peach cardstock to layer underneath it, and this is 5 1/2 by 3/4 of an inch. The zip strip is 5 1/2, and it's a 1/2 inch because it's a zip strip. Say zip strip a whole bunch of times, and then you get all. Hey, Joanne. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm going to center this along the length of my little peach cardstock strip here. Just line it up all the way along. And then we're going to adhere this centered on that step at the front of our card, that 1-inch piece. It needs a little bit of decorating too. We can't just leave it sitting there all plain and boring. It's got to be exciting too. Half surface will embellish. So let's go ahead. We're going to center that on here. Lining it up all the way across. Isn't that pretty? I love how keeping the colors very simple. We've just got that glacier, peach, and then a smidgen of sage going on there. It all just kind of works together and looks really pretty. Okay, now let's go back to our bunnies. I'm going to set that aside. We've got our cute little bunnies that we stamped, and I'm going to color these using only 2 colors. I'm going to be using the brown gray and the coral from the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers. So brown, gray, and coral. And I'm going to kind of do my coloring backwards from what I normally do. I'm actually going to start with the dark. And we're going to do the darkest shadows first. And when I was taking art classes at Visual Arts Brampton here in Brampton, Ontario, one of the things they focused on was if things are reflecting, the brightest point is right near where it touches. And when it's in shadow, the darkest point is right where it touches. So we're going to add some darkest shadow right along the bottoms of their feet. And I'm not going to draw a straight line. I'm going to make like little, like too much coffee has been drunk in a day, jiggly, jiggly. No, that's not your video glitching. That's me. Jiggle, jiggle. So we're going to make like little jiggly, furry line all the way along the bottom of the bunnies' bodies and on their little feet, even a tiny little touch on this little cottontail here. It doesn't have to be solid. It can be just little bits and blobs, but we're going to jiggle, jiggle, jiggle and get some of that darkest shadow right there. Now the other spot where we're going to have a darkest shadow is in the little spaces where their 2 bodies are kind of nestled in together. So this little guy is in behind here. So he's going to have some dark shadow there. This guy's going to have some dark shadow there and under his arm a little bit. Then this little back paw is going to be in dark shadow. Then just where these 2 guys meet, we're going to have some dark shadow. Again, I'm doing my jittery motion here. So it's not a solid line. We're going up between those 2 guys, maybe even under this guy's chin and down under his belly. Then we'll come up this side and this guy right there behind his leg. And there we go. We could even put a little touch here and there. Okay, so we started with our darkest first. Let me lift you up so you can see that. Or lift it up. I'm not going to lift all of you up. Hey, Barb. You're a little bit late. You're going to watch in the beginning on the replay. Awesome. Yeah, we're going to follow along with the coloring for now, right? Then we're going to switch to the mid. So this is a little bit different because usually I start with the light and then I add the shadows. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is so I can point out where the dark little bits are going to go because there's a lot of contrast right now. And the other thing is that my light is getting very low. And so if there's spots that I don't have to color with the light, I'm not going to have to waste that ink, right? Because I've already filled it in with darker colors. Now this mid, we're going to do more shadowing. And this is kind of one of those things where you have to imagine where your light source is coming from. So instead of using my pen cap, I'm going to use my liquid glue as this is my light source right here. So the light is shining down on my bunnies. Okay, so light is coming. So there's things that are going to be in shadow, things on the left side of the bunnies, because bunnies are 3-dimensional, right? if we're trying to make our bunnies look three-dimensional, they're going to have shadows on the left side. So we're going to add some shadow along the left side of his ears, like that, even on the little bit of the inside of his ear. There's going to be shadow. Again, jittery. Think jittery. If you haven't had your coffee for the day, this might also work for you. So we're going to add some shadow around that side of his head. Shadow on the paws, especially the bottom. And then, of course, this belly is underneath his paw there. And then in between these two guys, there's going to be some shadow, right? And then where these little detail lines are, we can add a little bit more gray there. Okay, so you can see where we've now filled in more shadowy bits. Now this guy has got a lot of shadow because he's not only littler, he's in behind. Oh, there's my phone. Sorry. Because of our change in schedule, my alarms will want to be ringing at weird times. He's also kind of tucked behind this guy. So this guy is kind of casting some shadow on him, right? So now this little guy, we're going to do left side of his ear, like that. We're going to do this side of his ear, a little bit in his ear, like so. We're going to come down his nose and his face because he's turned away from the light. When you're turned away from the light, you get some shadows, and up under his jaw and down the left side of his arm, under his chin, because, you know, under your, I'm gesturing my face, like you can see my face in the video. Pretend this is my head. Under your chin, you're going to get some shadow, right? Think about how people apply makeup. We're going to have some shadows there. We're going to have shadows on his little paw here, like that. Anywhere there's little details, we can add little bits. Then some under here, because this is, you know, the light is coming from over this away. So we're going to add some color under there. And then, of course, this little bit is kind of shadowed by this next bunny. So we're going to add some shadow there. And then let's go to our next bunny. Let's add some shadow on his ears. We're just kind of wash, rinse, and repeat with this, right? Just if you ever have trouble about figuring out where to have shadow, sometimes it helps to remind you that there's a light source and it's coming this way. So this side of his body is going to be in shadow, like that. We're going to leave some of his tail white, even though it's going to be shadowy. And then we'll add little dots here where there's some detail. Moving on to the next guy. And as you play around with your markers and your coloring and your pencil crayons and even with ink, you will kind of get used to where these things go, and it will become easier. It'll kind of become second nature to figure out where the shadows are. Now this guy is going to have some shadows coming down here, and we'll add some details there, some on his ear, some under his chin, like that. There we go. Okay, now we're jumping to our last one, which is the light, and then we're just going to fill in whatever hasn't been colored. And except for the inside of these ears that are kind of facing us, we're going to do that with another color. So because my marker is getting low, I'm kind of doing coloring in little swirly circles to try and get it all colored. Can you hear that scritchy scratch sound? I know it's super annoying. That is the sign of less and less ink in the marker. And of course, with this brown gray, yes, brown gray, I have been coloring cows and bunnies and all sorts of things, bears. So it's had a run for its money. It deserves a little bit of a break. So we'll hopefully have enough to get these little bunnies done, and then we'll have to replace Scritchy Scratchy. I'll try to keep talking so that you don't have to listen to every single scritchy scratch. Almost done. Get the top of his ear, around his head. I like the brown gray for little bunnies because, at least in our neighborhood, we have a lot of gray and brown bunnies. They're so super cute. And so I think it's just nice to honor that and have little bunnies. Now we're going to bring in the coral and just the light coral. And we're going to just go inside those little ears. Most of them are the ones on the right side that have a little bit of inner ear showing. There we go. And then just because we can, we're going to give them a little bit of coral on their cheeky cheeks. That guy doesn't have, well, he's got cheeks down here. Let's give him a little bit on his tail. We'll give them a little bit of coral on their cheeky cheeks, makes them look cute and warm and fuzzy and all those good feelings. Let's remove our light source. So there you can see we've colored up our little bunnies. They look so cute. Oh my goodness. I love the sweet little bunnies. And now we're going to do some fussy cutting. Rough cutting first. Then we're going to fussy cut. Now this is going to look odd. I'm going to leave the bottom for now. You'll see why in a minute. I'm going to first just fussy cut around these bunnies. Now I haven't checked to see if the thin cuts are still available for this stamp set, but there were thin cuts, and it's possible that if they're gone, there may be more coming. But you know me, we're doing the fussy cutting. So I'm just going to fussy cut around all their little ears at the top here first. Going to pivot my paper, leave a halo of the white all the way around. Even going around the whiskers. We don't want to trim their whiskers off. No barbershop trips for the bunnies. Go around. We're halfway there. And I actually want 2 sets of these bunnies for this particular card. But by the magic of Facebook, I have already got 1 set already done. Because while it's lovely to watch me color and work through the process of coloring and fussy cutting, not everybody wants to watch that twice. For the exact same thing. Wonder about that. So, we've already got 1 prepped. So just for those who may want to repeat this card, that's what you're going to do. You're going to make these bunnies, and you're going to make 2 of them. But then once we get this part done, this fussy cutting around all the ears, we're going to do something a little different with this set of bunnies than what I did with the other set. And I haven't yet trimmed the bottom. I'm leaving this nice straight edge because I want to bring in my little photo trimmer, and I'm going to stick my bunnies in here. Now, don't get concerned. There's no need to call PETA or anything because these bunnies are okay. They're going to be okay. And we're just going to do that. We're just going to chop them in half. So where this little bunny, he's got 2, 1 ear over here and 1 ear over here. He's now been chopped. Sorry, little bunny. It's okay. We won't know it in the end. Then we can go ahead and trim their little feet. So I just left that straight edge on there so that it would be easier to get a nice straight chop. It sounds so bad. I'm sorry. But it's okay. It's just paper. It's not really bunnies. All right. Trimming around all their little feet. Like that. And then we can bring in our card base and you will understand why I did what I did to our little bunnies. Let's add some adhesive on the back of them. I'm going to make sure along that cut edge that I get some adhesive on there. We're going to do the same thing on this one. Add some adhesive. And I'm going to actually use some liquid glue on this little bit of the ear. So we have cut our little bunnies in half. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make them hippy hop from one side to the other. And now our little bunnies can be kind of coming in from the sides of our card like this. So in the end, you don't even notice that our bunnies have been chopped in half. It's okay. It all works out. So we're going to take their adhesive off here. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue just to this little, because it's the edge of our card. We don't want this to get snagged on things. So we're going to add a tiny little bit of liquid glue down there. And to make my life easier, I'm going to grab my tweezers. I'm going to squish down my step at the front of my card because I want my bunnies to kind of be right on top of that step. Just like they're sitting on top. Okay? I'm going to stick my little bunnies down. And then these little bunnies, does anybody do that to their bunnies before? Just chop them in half like that. I feel kind of mean for doing it, but it looks so cute when I'm done. It'll be fine. It'll all be good. There we go. Deborah, during Chat and Craft this afternoon, was doing some surgery on one of her dog toys because it was getting in a bit of a mess with needing some parts put back on. I don't think it was a bunny. I think it was a lamb. All right. So now we're going over to the left side, lining our little chopped bunny up with the outside edge and against this little step here. So we're creating a nice little scene with all our little bunnies. And then remember I said that we had, I had already done one of these sets of bunnies, and I did it the exact same way. Same markers, everything. So these are all related bunnies. And for this, we're going to put just the teeniest little bit of glue all the way down the bottom where their toes are. And then we're going to, hold on, take to it. We're going to squish down our step and we're going to put our little bunnies on here so that they're just sitting on that peach cardstock. And I'm going to try and center them so that this bunny's face and this bunny's face are kind of the same distance from the edge of the card. And then we can squish them down and hopefully not leak glue everywhere. Oh, look at that. No glue leaked. Wowzers. So there's our little bunnies. Now, if you could see them from the front, like I can see them from the front, they look really cute. From the top, not so much. Let's see. How's that? Can you see what's happening? We've got like a whole little congregation of bunnies. What's a group of bunnies called? Is it a congregation? I'm not sure. We'll have to look that up. It's a family of bunnies. But we need our sentiment on here. So for this, I went into my stash. Sometimes you just have to go stash diving to find what it is you're looking for. And I wanted something kind of a little bit more, I don't know, elegant or stylized. So I pulled out my stitched scallop brackets. Now these are no longer available. The stitched fancy brackets, I think, are the ones that are more rectangular. But these are the scalloped ones, which I thought would be nice because they're going to go up in the sky where the clouds are. And I've just cut it out of white daisy so you can see there the little stitch lines going all around the lovely little scallops. And we are going to stamp on there our sentiment, warm and fuzzy hugs. I love that sentiment. It's my favorite out of this one. We're going to stamp it in black. Just going to ink up the stamp. There we go. I got a little bit goopy. And we're going to stamp it right in the center. Warm and fuzzy hugs. Fingers crossed. Not bad. Not quite as good as the first time I did it, but not bad. I probably should have flipped over my Versamat to do that. All right, let's add some adhesive on the back of our sentiment. like that. And where's my, I don't like, when it gets down to small things, I don't like bending them to try and lift the backing, so we'll do it that way. And I'm also going to use this. What I want to do is I want to have my sentiment kind of come down and probably, you know what, I'm going to line it up. So if I line it up here like this, then my 6-inch line is right in the center, and I can take that top point of my little scalloped banner and line it up with that center 6-inch line and hopefully get it straight-ish. Let's see, how's that? That's looking good. Warm and fuzzy hugs. And then we can come in with some honey bunny dots because, you know, we've got so many bunnies on there, we might as well have some honey bunnies. And because we've used that peach, we're keeping our colors. Our colors very simple. Because we use that peach, we're going to use these peach dots. So let's add some on here for a little bit of shine. Let's add one right here. So it looks like this little guy is kind of looking at this little dot. And then, or the big dot. And then let's also grab a little one right there. Then up on our sentiment, let's add a little bit more. We're going to add one there. That's a medium-sized dot. We'll grab another medium-sized dot. Stick it on this side, and then a final little dot. And I like using the piercing tool type instrument for this because you can scoop it up and then move it around to wherever you want it and get it positioned so that it looks nice. And my big old fingers would never quite do that. So there we go. We have our warm and fuzzy hugs, Spring Bunnies Galore step card created. We started out with that Seabrook, light side of Seabrook card base, simple scoring and folding to create this single step, just 1 inch, 1 inch, easy peasy. And then layered up with some peach cardstock, that mix-in cloud paper from the mix-ins, and also that sage with the little foliage down at the bottom, kind of making it look a little grassy or in the bushes kind of feel for our bunnies. And then, of course, all those lovely bunnies colored up with our brown, gray, and coral. And then to the little zip strip, some bling, some stuff from our stash, and that stamp sentiment, warm and fuzzy hugs. And we've got lots of place inside to write. We could also add some extra writing on the back if we're writing a long note to a friend. Sending warm and fuzzy hugs. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this Spring Bunnies Galore front step card come together. And if you're inspired to create one like this for yourself, be sure to snap a photo of it and pop it in the comments once I post this photo on the webpage. And then we can all be inspired by what we create. All right, have a wonderful rest of the evening. We will be back on for Chat and Craft at 7 o'clock. See you then. Toodaloo. Bye.